What's up, guys? Welcome to Jew Whiskey. I'm Jeff. This is a channel where I have my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and every once in a while throw in other whiskey-related content. Today, I've got a list for you guys. We're going to be going over 7 brands of whiskey that I just don't buy from very much. So it should be interesting. Stick around. All right, so I want to start off by apologizing because lately I've been doing a run-through of all the Glenmorangie releases that I have, and I had the 18 scheduled for today, but we're going to have to push that back because I don't know if you can tell from my voice, but I'm a little bit sick, so I couldn't script the video. I definitely couldn't shoot the video because I can neither smell nor taste, and when you're doing a whiskey review, smelling and tasting things is helpful. So instead of the Glenmorangie, I figured I'd give you guys a list today. We're going to be going over 7 whiskey brands that I don't buy from very much. And listen, I know this is going to upset a lot of people because you could construe this list as leaning a little bit negative. I get that. But for the record, I'm not saying these are bad brands. Just brands I don't really buy from. Maybe these brands had bottles that failed to impress me in the past. Maybe they just don't have any releases that tickle my fancy. Whatever the reason, these are just brands that don't really show up on my radar. And maybe it's a mistake that I ignore them. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do. Now, I did do something similar about a month ago. I asked my patrons, I gave them a poll and asked them what whiskey brands they avoid. That was a fun video. Today, it's all my opinion. And I'm not going to say avoid because that sort of implies that I'm being intentional. I'm being proactive. I'm steering clear of them. It's less avoid and more just, I don't think about them. So these aren't the bad brands. These are the meh brands. I just walk past them at the store. I don't give them a second thought. It's like oatmeal at the grocery store. I know that oatmeal is a perfectly fine breakfast. I do not register it when I'm reaching for the Honey Nut Cheerios, which are absolutely packed with sugar and contain an unhealthy amount of modified cornstarch. They also contain a high level of glyphosate residue, which is a potentially toxic herbicide, and, quote, a concerning amount of tripotassium phosphate. Now, I don't know what tripotassium phosphate is, but it sounds delicious. Maybe that's what's missing from oatmeal. Anyway, if you happen to be a fan of any of these brands or you think they make good stuff, if there's a bottle from them that you want to recommend to me, that might be something I'd be willing to try. You know, I'm being open-minded here. Now, for criteria, I'm not going to give you a bunch of brands that you're never going to come across. These are brands that are out there that you can find. So nothing like, I don't know, I don't think I've seen a Strathisla in a long time. Tormore, you never see them. No brands like that. And also no brands that are discontinued, no brands that only ever show up as IBs, and no new brands that have yet to establish themselves. These all need to be brands that you can find. And fine, they're not going to be everywhere, they're not going to be in every market, but if you spend enough time in enough whiskey shops, you will have seen them. And as always, this is just an opinion. Gotta double down on that for a video like this. I'll see all you angry boys down below in the comments. Oh, and one last thing, when I talk about the brand, I don't want to just show you their logo, so I'm going to show you a bottle. It's the bottle that I think, or I assume, is their most popular bottle. That'll be based on zero research and just whatever pops into my head, because I'm nothing if not professional. And I think that's the whole premise covered. As always, guys, I've got my mystery pour in the glass here. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video. I'll share with you what that is. Your hint for today is that this is a pretty decent whiskey from a brand that I would typically ignore. It is a very big, global, international, conglomerate type brand. It is a blend, not usually something I enjoy, but this one's good. And also what's nice about this stuff is that it's not too expensive, and I'm telling you that for a couple reasons. One, you might want to pick it up, and two, I'm not going to pour a fancy, expensive whiskey for myself, given my current state. Because I haven't been able to smell or taste anything for the last 3 days. That's still the case, so pretty much any whiskey I pour myself is just going to go down like water. Now, obviously fun water that makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside, but there's no flavor. Anyway, that's enough rambling. Let's get into this list. If you kindly leave a like down below, that would be greatly appreciated. All right, kicking off our list at number 7, we have Tamnavulin. But Jeff, I hear you say, did you not review a Tamnavulin not that long ago? Yeah, I did. I'm not saying these are brands that I have never bought. I just don't, usually. Now, is Tamnavulin a bad brand? No, I wouldn't even say so. I think a lot of their releases are pretty okay considering the price. Some of them are kind of meh, but for the most part, most of their whiskeys are sippable and decent, and they don't break the bank. It's easy whiskey, it's unpretentious whiskey, which is why it finds itself at the back of this list. I don't have a problem with Tamnavulin, I just usually ignore them, and that's a me thing. That's just because I tend to be kind of a princess, and I go for whiskeys with a little bit more character. I understand why the market has brands like this, but I'm not really the demographic. They serve their purpose, they're fine, but for the most part, as I said, I just kind of ignore them. So it comes in at number 7, Temnevollen. Number 6 is Aberfeldy. This is a brand that showed up on my patrons list last month. This is a brand I've had a few expressions from, and they've never done much for me. They weren't bad, but you're not going to remember them, or at least I didn't. Or I guess I do remember them because I'm talking about them, but I remember not really remembering them. Don't think about it too much. Now, I have heard that these guys are going to revamp their core range at some point down the line. Take that with a grain of salt. That is just a rumor. But if it is true, and if the other Bacardi brands are any indication, take Royal Bracla for example, then it's likely that the revamped line will go in a more craft and interesting direction. And if that is the case, then I definitely look forward to the new line because like everything on this list, I don't think it's necessarily bad whiskey or inherently bad whiskey, maybe just not living up to its full potential. A brand that goes more for like mass appeal. And since we are enthusiasts and we want every brand to fit into our very rigid definition of quality, historically this has just not been a brand that's impressed us. Or me. Maybe that's just me. And my patrons, so not alone. Regardless, whether we get the upgrade, whether we don't, the Aberfeldy we have right now is a brand that I walk past at the store, which is why it's number 6. Number 5 is Tullibardine. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. If I'm not, somebody will chime in. This is another one of those simple, easy, affordable brands. I do not hate them. I think this one will get a few people riled up though, because they have some bottles. I wouldn't call their bottles popular, but they have some bottles that are, I don't know, semi-popular. I was recommended the 15 a while back. I do know some people that enjoy that one. I found it too oaky. The Murray Cask Strength, that was pretty decent. I'm not going to lie. That wasn't a bad whiskey at all. I think it was around 12 years old. What did I have? 2007 vintage or something. I don't know. But neither were enough to convince me to buy more from the brand. I am open to trying more stuff from this brand, so if you have any suggestions, you can put those down below. There's a reason it's not more towards the front of this list. It's never really impressed me, but the price is okay, and the whiskey, yeah, not bad. But for the time being, at least, I don't feel that compelled to explore much other stuff from them. Maybe I should, but it's number 5. Tullibardine. Number 4 is Jura, the whipping boy of the whiskey industry. Now, this one was number 1 on my patrons list last month, and I get it. This is not a brand that has ever really impressed me. Similar to Temnevollen, at least it is cheap. And yeah, there's IBs out there. Those can be a mixed bag. Of course, they're going to be better than the standard stuff. But yeah, the standard OB stuff goes great with a bowl of oatmeal. And it's funny, I got quite a few comments when this was number 1 in the last video. Some people were upset. A lot of people kind of defended it, saying it's cheap, affordable, available supermarket fare. Don't expect great things, but it does serve its purpose. I can't argue with that. That's fair. Again, I'm not saying it's bad whiskey. This list is not about brands that I think are bad. This list is about brands that I don't usually buy. I couldn't tell you the last time I picked up an OB Jura. It's been a very long time, so it fits perfectly here. Comes in at number 4. Jura. Number 3 is Royal Loch Nagar. This is a brand I often see at the shops. It's pretty much everywhere in Taiwan. But we'll put it this way. It's a brand I see with my eyes, but I don't see them with my heart. And my wallet doesn't notice them either. The only thing I've had from them is the 12, and again, not bad. You're probably going to pick up on a theme here. None of these whiskeys I dislike. I find them not very interesting. And that's something I realized putting this list together, because sure, there are brands or whiskeys that I don't like, but they have weird or off-putting flavors. And that's not the premise of this list. This is brands I don't buy because they're just not interesting enough. They don't give me enough character. As I said, I'm a princess and I have standards. So I do admit there's a bit of snobbery at play today, because a lot of these sippable, casual, unpretentious supermarket whiskeys aren't for me, because I'm looking for more of like a moment with my whiskey. I prefer quality over quantity. He says with 100 bottles behind him. Now, in my defense, the reason there's 100 bottles back there is because I'm a whiskey reviewer. And I'm not just any kind of whiskey reviewer. I'm a financially irresponsible whiskey reviewer. Anyway, the point is, these cheap casual whiskeys do deserve a place in the market as simple entry-level bottles. You know, stuff that's easy to like, but also easy to forget. And while you may feel differently, for me, Royal Lochnagar 12 does fit that description, which is why I haven't really been compelled to explore much else from the range, which is why it sits at number 3 today. Royal Lochnagar. Number 2 is Cardew, another brand that I always just walk straight past. I have tried some stuff from them. I've tried the 12, and I think I've tried the 18 too, although I can't be sure because I don't really remember. It's too safe, it's too engineered, it's too bland. Again, I'm looking for whiskey with character, and you might get more character and stuff like the Diageo special releases, but I'm not going to seek them out. I know a lot of the Cardew stuff ends up in blends, so I don't think Diageo is really pushing them as, you know, a major brand, and I don't think they're on a lot of people's radars. So very fitting for number 2, at least for me. So that's where it is. Number 1 is Dufftown, yet another not terrible generic whiskey with all the personality of a doorknob. To contextualize, I would describe the Dufftown flavor as whiskey. I would describe the drinking experience as smooth, and I would describe the overall experience as okay. I've only tried the 12 and the 18 from them. Again, this is a Diageo product, and they do have some special releases. I think the last one was from a few years back, and I hear it was okay. It probably was. It's obviously much more expensive. It's cast strength, and if the interest was there, I'd seek it out. It's not there. By the way, if you're not familiar with Dufftown, as I said, it's a Diageo brand. It's under the Singleton umbrella, where you'll find other brands like Glen Ord, which is actually okay at times, and Glendullan, which is something I've never tried. But man, Dufftown, it's one of those whiskeys, like you can drink it, but it's just resoundingly meh, which is why I felt it was fitting of the number 1 spot. So there we go. Number 1 is Dufftown. Okay, that was the list, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And for the last time, this is just an opinion. Now, I probably shouldn't say that. I've already said that countless times in this video. And I do feel like at this point, I'm defending myself too much. People are going to complain no matter what. Did I get a little bit sassy in this video? Yes, I did. You guys can deal with it. It's just for fun. It's just a drink. Now, with all that out of the way, I do want to hear from you guys. So what are your meh whiskeys? What are the whiskey brands that you don't hate? You just don't think about them. I am looking forward to reading what you guys have to say down below. And finally, for those of you who stuck around to find out what the mystery pour is in the glass, as I said earlier, this is a blended whiskey from a very big, very corporate brand. What I'm drinking is Johnnie Walker & Sons Celebratory Blend. This one is a limited edition whiskey. It's from a few years back, and it's pretty good. This is pretty affordable stuff. It's got a higher ABV at 51%. That added intensity does help. We have nice flavors here. And, you know, it being a Johnnie Walker, of course, I have my biases. I have my prejudice. Does this help improve the image of Johnnie Walker in my mind? Yeah, a little bit. Fine, I'm not rushing out to buy more Johnnie Walkers, and it's not like I'm totally sold on the brand now just from this one bottle. But the point is, this is a nice bottle from a brand that I would describe as boring and generic. So there's always a shot at redemption. And on that positive and hopeful note, we're going to end today's video. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to help out with the channel, I've got both Patreon and PayPal listed down below. Anything and everything helps. And I suppose we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.